Welcome back. This training is going over everything you need to know about comparables. All right, so let's talk comps. I'm going to give you two scenarios and you tell me which scenario that you would rather be. So Harold the agent, I get an appointment, I go to the property, I meet with the client, they walk through the door and they fall in love with the house. They say, Harold, I love this house. I need you to write up an offer as soon as possible. I say, perfect. I go back to the office, I write up the offer. We go under contract. We go through our inspection period. Everything checks out. And then about 2 weeks later, we'll say 10 to 14 days into the contract, we get the appraisal gets done and we get the appraisal results and the property comes back and appraises for $20,000 less. Now, there's three things that could happen when you have an appraisal that comes in lower than what your value is. The first one and the best one, the seller just drops down to the appraised value. So in this instance, we're under contract for $400,000. Appraisal comes back at $380,000. The seller just says, "Hey, I need to sell the property. I'm going to drop down to the appraised value, $380,000." That's the best outcome. Second thing, seller says, "Hey, listen, I'll drop down to $390,000, but you need to come up from $380,000 to $390,000," which means that your client would have to come up out of their pocket $10,000. Again, this isn't part of the loan. The bank will only loan you what the property is appraised for. Now, that's not so much ideal, but it happens, right? If it's your dream property, the client loves it, and they have the cash on hand, perfect. Third case scenario, and in this scenario, I made sure I had my appraisal contingency so that I protect my client's escrow. But third case scenario, there's no meeting of the minds. Seller says, "No, I want 400." Buyer says, "I'm not paying 20,000 on top of what it's worth." There's a cancellation. Buyer gets their escrow. Seller goes their way. But you have to think about it as this. Your buyer's already roughly in about $1,000. Where do I get that number from? Let's say that their inspection was $500. Inspection could run you anywhere from, and it's all based on square footage and what they're inspecting as well. Is there a septic tank? Well, is there a pool, etc., right? But let's say your inspection's $500. It costs your buyer roughly anywhere from $475 to $525 to get an appraisal done. So I always like to say that they're roughly in about $1,000 into this transaction for it to fall apart because we didn't do our due diligence. Now, your buyer looks at you and says, "Harold, did you know that it was worth $380,000? And you say, "I didn't really check, right? I did what you told me to do," right? That's, again, you did what you were supposed to, but we could always do real estate better. Now I'm going to tell you the same situation, but when they say, "Harold, I love this property. I need you to write up an offer." And I say, "Okay, not a problem. I'm going to go back to the office. I'm going to pull up comparables just to make sure that what they're asking for, it's worth. And then from there, we could make a decision based on what we find." I see that the properties are all hitting around 380, 385, 375, right? So I share that with the client, and then we can make an educated decision. And if the client still says, "Hey, Harold, I don't want to miss out on this property. Let's put the offer for 400. I did my due diligence, right? I'm going to let you know right now. Every agent in their lifetime has had a deal fall through. Your job is to make sure that the client still wants to work with you after the deal falls through, right? Again, we can't control how it comes out, but I could definitely tell you where it should fall into as far as pricing. So as you see right here, I have 1460 Shallcross Ave already pulled up. It's active on the market for 13 days. So in this case, we're going to pretend that Harold has a client that's interested in this property and they would want to put in an offer. Now, this is literally, I want to say, COMPS 101. It's the first step, and it's not to get confused with a CMA. A CMA, comparative market analysis, is going to be for sellers. So I get a lot of times from agents, "Hey, Harold, I need help providing a CMA for my buyer." You don't need to do that. All you need to do is provide comps. CMA is more in depth. It shows a lot more than what a buyer needs. Imagine you making CMA reports for every buyer that you have every time they want to put an offer in. It's going to just drag you down. You don't want to do that. All you have to do is provide comps for them. So I'm going to show you how that looks. Again, first step, let's look through the pictures and identify how the property looks. We all have heard the saying, hey, you can't compare apples to oranges. You want to compare apples to apples. So again, these are the things we're looking for. Heated square footage. We're looking for the same community. We're looking for the same style of home. If it's a single family, single story, I should say, I want to truly stick to single story. If there's only 2 stories, it's okay. I'm okay with that. But again, my first option should be a single story. Basically, you want to have model matches, right? The best comp that you choose is going to have no adjustments. What are your adjustments? Hey, I have to adjust for square footage. I have to adjust because they have an extra bathroom and I don't. I have to adjust because they have a patio and I don't. I have to adjust because it's a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage. If you have a whole bunch of adjustments, I promise you it's not the best comparable. So number one, we're going to go through the pictures and identify, hey, what are we dealing with? Is this an updated property? Is it fully remodeled? So right off the bat, we have carpet. These are all standard builder grade stuff, right? Carpet, your vanities, all of this is all standard. There's no upgrades, no renovations, all standard still. Carpet. Formica countertops, black appliances, right? So this is all standard builder grade. So when I'm looking at properties, right, I'm not going to take the property that has sold for $430 and it's fully remodeled. That's not the best comparable that I'm looking for. Could I use it if it's a model match and that's all I have? For sure, but I'm looking for ones that look similar to the interior. So it's a very simple process. I'm just going to copy the address. I have another window open. I'm going to go to search, residential, detail. This is like a 5 or 6 step process. I promise you it is the easiest thing. Active, pending, sold. 1, 2, 3. That's already 3 steps in my process. My next step is to go to the zip code where my property is, 32828. That's 4 steps already. My 5th step, I'm going to jump to map. Actually, I'm going to add one more step. I'm just going to put townhouse. My property is a townhouse. I only want to look at townhouses, right? I'm going to jump to map. And as you could see, it has all the actives. Actives are going to be green. Pendings are going to be yellow. Your solds are red. You see right here, there's jump to address. I'm going to paste my address right there. Click enter. And again, my property is located right here. I have a sold, a sold, a sold, a pending, a sold here, a sold here, a sold here, active there. Now, what I like to do is I like to follow the lines just to let you know these over here, if you click on it, right, I'm going to pull this one up. As you see, it's in Avalon Lakes, Phase 3 Village. Our subject is in Spring Isle. I truly don't want to grab other townhouses from other communities because every community offers different amenities. Give you a perfect example. Just because I'm familiar with this community, Avalon Lakes is electronic gate. They have a fitness center. They have a pool. They actually have 2 pools. They have a tennis court. They have a soccer field. Spring Isle is a man-guarded gate. Also, in their amenities, even the single-family homes, they take care of all of the lawns. And they just have a pool and they have a small fitness center, right? So amenities are the biggest things. If you ever have to grab comps from a different community, you truly want to match them up. So again, in this example, I'm not going to grab those at all. I'm going to go back to map. Over here, you have a few choices. You have radius, which is the circle. I'm not going to use the circle because I'm going to show you right now what happens. If I go expand, expand, I'm already in a different community without even crossing over. I don't want to use that. So if I let that one sit like that, I have this little eraser. You click that and it erases all that. I like to use the polygon. I'm going to expand out a little bit. You see how the polygon, I could kind of shift around all these other areas. And then as well, You can know which properties are townhouses versus single family homes just based off of the lot lines. You see how these lot lines are much smaller versus these, because this whole section in the back and this whole section right here is all single family homes. So all I really want to do is look at my townhouses. Now I'm going to go to agent single line, and I could see everything that I'm looking at. This is my subject right here. It's a 3.5, which means it's a 3-bedroom, 3 full baths, and 1 half bath, built in 2006, and it's a large one too, 2,036 square feet. I have one pending over here as well. I'm going to click that. Same block, same model, just a little bit smaller. And then I'm truly going to, so if you go to close date, you click close date once, click close date twice. It's going to pull up all of the properties that have sold recently. So for instance, 1323 Shallcross, 3-bedroom, 3 full baths, 1 half bath, 2,074 square feet, which is beautiful. I'm going to click on that one. Practically a model match, right? Just sold for cash on 6/4, which is, I believe, today or yesterday it was. Either way, have one sold. Ideally, you want to have 3 sold comps. If you have 2, if you have 1, you definitely need more than 1. Don't ever base a property on 1 comp. If all you could find is 1 good comp and all the other comps are showing a lower value, please do not pick those, or in fact, reach out to myself. I am always here to verify your comparables, always here to verify any CMAs. Next one. It's going to be a little bit smaller, 1824. These are all on Shallcross. I'm going to pick these first 3. Even if I wanted to pick this 1723 one, I could choose it. Or even this one, right? So I have an active, I have a pending. I'm going to refine these just so I could see the ones that I selected. Now I'm going to tell you about pending properties. Pending property to me lets me know how fast a property went under contract, especially if you're looking in a sense that you want to price a property out. If you want to price a property out, I use my pendings to see if they're going to be future comps. What do I mean by that? If you scroll down, you have a section that says expected closing date. This property is supposed to close on 6/6/24, which I believe is Thursday, right? So this property is supposed to close on the 6th, on Thursday. So it's safe to say that if I was to put an offer on the one that's listed right now on the subject, and it was to, by the time it gets appraised, this property would have already been closed, and it's going to be my new future comp. So that's why I pay attention to pendings as well. We don't know what the price is on a pending property until it's sold, or you could even call Rebecca up. What does that conversation look like? Hey, Rebecca, this is Harold with the Figueroa team. I have a client who's interested in a property. We're about to go under contract in that community. I know you have one pending right now, and it's closing this week. Is it safe to say that that property is closing somewhere close to what the asking price was? That's simple. You're going to have some agents that tell you, hey, I really can't disclose that. I'll let you know. You could see when it closes because it instantly updates. Or you're going to have them tell you, hey, Harold, yeah, I actually got it under contract for full price, or whatever the case may be, right? Again, it doesn't hurt to ask. If they tell you no, it's okay. But anyway, let's go through the properties. This is going to be one of our best comps because it's the closest in square footage. I will say it's an N unit, so I'm sure it got some type of extra attention on it. But let's see how much better it is than our subject. So they have laminate flooring. Okay. They have Formica. Mixed appliances. So I could tell you right now, the only thing that they have different in this property is just their laminate flooring. I feel good about where we're priced at to begin with. And it seems like that's it, right? Now I also want to show you this property was listed for $417, ends up selling for $410. Seller credit 0. Anytime you see seller credit here, that's going to mention $5,000, $10,000. That's your closing costs, concessions, however you want to call it. That's what the seller gave back in the process of this. Now, for example, over here, sold price was 410. Let's say that the seller credit showed $10,000. That means that technically the seller netted 400, right? It will pop up like that on an appraisal. So in an appraisal, it's going to show the price 410. It's going to show concessions minus 10,000. So when they do all their calculations right off the bat, you're starting off at 400. So keep that in mind because they play closing costs does play a part into your value. So far we're doing good, right? We have a model match. It wasn't too far off in condition wise. Looking good. Let's click through this next one. So this one that has the wood look tiles, has granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, granite vanity. They got an updated shower as well, and they have a covered patio screened in as well. Now, anytime that you see a brick wall like this or any type of wall, you have to assume, and let's click on the map, that it's bordering the community. So this one, for instance, is right here, and it has a wall that you can't even see the fountain because they don't really want you to see all of the stuff on Avalon Park Boulevard. This wouldn't really be a negative adjustment by any means because there's enough distance from our property to the road over here. All right, let's move forward. So this one ended up selling for $415, got $3,000 back, $412. So far, so good. Let's go to the next property. All right, so this has either some type of wood, laminate, whatever the case may be. Formica, mixed appliances again. Another just patio slab right there. And this sold for $405 with $7,000 back, so it ended up selling for $398 basically. All right. So right off the bat, we've been floating around that higher 4. This was the first one that we dipped under 4. We're only listed for $400,000, right? And we also checked out the pending that is smaller in square footage, and it was and we'll see what it sells for. It's probably, if I was a betting man, in 32 days, it's going to sell somewhere in the 390s. Now remember, our active is larger than all of them except for that one, so we wouldn't make any adjustments on square footage for the first one, but for the other ones we would. We would make an adjustment for square footage. But in this case, remember, this is just COMPS 101. Your job is just to make sure that you understand that, hey, if my client was going to put an offer on 1460 Shallcross Ave, and let's click on it, and it's been on the market for 13 days, there's no offers on the table, I like to let you know that you could always negotiate, but it's safe to say that this property and its square footage, and even though it's builder basic, the carpet looked newer. Let's see if there's anything in here that they could touch on as far as anything that's important that they could tell us. But like I said, it's safe to say that this property is going to appraise. So we already did our job right there. We did our job right there in a sense that, hey, it's listed for 400. We're larger. We might not be as nice as certain things, but if they were to offset those adjustments with our square footage and maybe for laminate or anything like that, I would still fall somewhere in 400,000. Again, there's going to be multiple series of pulling comps, but I feel like this is the most effective way for you to pull comps for a buyer or a seller. But most importantly, you want to do this for your buyers. I'm not saying do this if you have 7 showings planned for the day. Show up with comps for all 7 because you don't know what your client's going to like and whatnot. But I'll tell you right now, if I'm going on an appointment and it's my first time to show a property to a client and we're going to go see a property, do you think they're going to choose me over the person that doesn't have all this experience? So for instance, I show up to a property, I have a Fig Team folder or EXP folder, I have the MLS sheet, I have the buyer process guide, and I also have the comps on it, I'm showing up as I'm prepared, like I did my due diligence already. Versus the agent that shows up with just a crumpled up MLS sheet, waving it in the air. Here you go. They can't even recite anything on it. They haven't looked at what the HOA does in the community or anything. I promise you, they're going to choose the one who's better prepared. That's the best way. Now, I also want to let everyone know, if you go into your Slack channel, you go to First 90, and you see over here where it says 7 pin, you're going to click over there. Besides this video, I have a full step-by-step process, right over here where it says a channel comparable. It gives you the definition of what a comparable is. I tell you the first step is understanding what we are looking for: age of home, heated square footage, lot size, does it look like our subject property. We want to be as like as our property as much as possible. What will be the perfect comp? Model match. Step-by-step process on how to do it. So if you ever forget, you don't want to watch this video, you always have this step-by-step process right here. There's going to be properties that you can't comp out. There's properties that I can't comp out, that it's just, hey, I don't have comparables, and at the end of the day, Harold's not an appraiser, but Harold has done more CMAs and have comped out more properties than most agents that I know, if not all of the agents that I know. Little background as far as what I've done. We worked with Zillow Offers, and we ran that entire pricing team. And we're still doing pricing for a lot of properties that we get with some of these institutional partnerships that we have. So again, this is something that the more you practice, the better you get. But I feel like this is the #1 tool for any real estate agent. And you'll be surprised at how many agents don't pull up comps, just say, hey, this is a good price, because they're trying to get the sale. I promise you, if you come prepared, you'll understand you'll have less deals that fall through, because appraisal is such a big issue when it comes down to properties that we're just going under contract and just assuming that they're going to appraise without doing the research. As you saw, it took me practically no time. Granted, it was a townhouse. I'll tell you right now, townhouses and condos are extremely easy. When you get into single families, if it's in a community, stay in that community. I'd rather you go back in time. Probably saying, Harold, what do you mean by go back in time? So if I go back to my search and I go to criteria, you're going to see that the sold 180, right? I could change. There's sometimes that I go back a full year. Doesn't mean I'm going to grab those comps. It's just I want to see what the market looks like for that year. Why has it changed? What's going on? So we look at it: 410, 415, 405, 412, 415. Shiv Court, not the same model. And for 348, such a big difference in price. I could tell you that most likely it was an investor, maybe a REO, but let's look at it. It was none. It's listed for 350. Why does it sell for such a low amount compared to the others? Oh, different floor plan, which I didn't grab, which is good. All carpet. Now, this isn't one that I would compare to our property because it's a completely different floor plan. I know this community fairly well. I know that the Shawcross side in Croydon gets more love than the Shiv Court, Rock Harbor side. And all it is literally a full-on circle. When you come into Spring Isle, make the left for these type of models of townhouses, make the right for these type of models. So that's where you're going to see a big difference in value. And then, right, here's this is actually letting you know that I'm kind of right on what I'm talking about. Shiv Court, Rock Harbor, Enclair, 348, 373, 370. Those are all the different model match that I just showed you. Versus, oh, Croydon, 411, Shawcross, 395, Shawcross, 390, Shawcross, 368, 900. Again, there's going to be properties that sell lower than that 390, 400 range, but at least we're right on it. All right, let's go back. And again, play around with how you're going to pull your comps. So just to do a quick recap, what are we looking for? We're looking for style of home. We're looking for age of home. We're looking for square footage. We're looking for lot size. We're looking for the attributes that make it the home that you're looking at. What do I mean by that? Is it a pool? Don't grab a pool comp if our subject doesn't have a pool. Don't grab the property that's half an acre when you're only 10,000 square feet. Roofs are going to be a big thing as well. For instance, certain communities, they have tile roofs versus shingle roofs. Those are major adjustments. Again, try to be as like as possible. So we went over the things that you should be looking for. And again, the properties that have closed the soonest, as in this month that we're in the last month, those are going to be the comps that are chosen over the ones that have closed either 3 months ago or so on. Let me see what else. That's basically it. There's a reason why I keep my search pretty wide open. As you could see, I wasn't adding square footage. I wasn't saying I want to see properties that are between 1,800 and 2,200, because again, I want to get an idea of the full community. Also, I never do legal subdivision name, just because there's a lot of communities that have phases in them. What do I mean by that? When you come into the office, you're going to see that our office is located in 32824, Wyndham Lakes, Meadowwoods. Wyndham Lakes is a huge community. It wasn't built all at the same time. So if I was to type in Wyndham Lakes, for instance, and a property is in Wyndham Lakes Phase 4, I'm not going to get that. So that's why I always like to do my radius, my polygon, or anything. And just to let you know, you can't go out 5 miles. Ideally, the max I want you to go out is 2 miles. If you have to stretch out because you're in a rural area, like you're on farmland and you have to grab something, cool, not a problem. But you really shouldn't be going anything over 2 miles. Ideally, stay within the community. That's pretty much it for Comps 101. Again, there's going to be more to this series. I'm going to show you how to make a CMA for listings. I'm going to show you how to do adjustments as well. But I'll tell you, the number one step to all of this is pulling the right comps. It's very easy to pull higher comps or lower comps, which could screw up your pricing completely because you're just looking at a square footage and you're not really looking at, hey, is this pretty much similar to my property? That's everything I got for you guys.